Welcome back into the Dead Arm Sports Podcast. Josh and Jell here live on a Wednesday, and we are actually live on YouTube. We got that set up on our Monday recording that came out on Tuesday. So from now on, if you are interested, typically record on Mondays and Wednesdays. And
live on YouTube.
Yeah, can send us in any questions. If you're watching that live stream, more than happy to take a look and check the chat box here and there and answer any questions, time permitting. But Jell, question of the day today.
Bring it on.
I wanted to talk some more college football. So I want to know what 5 college football fan bases should be the most excited about their teams for the next 5 years.
So my number one, and this is a combination of both NIL and Lincoln Riley arriving into town. And that's USC. That's the Trojans.
Yeah.
I mean, we already have seen Caleb Williams follow Lincoln over from OU. We've already seen one of his prized receivers come over from Oklahoma to USC. So that's where it started. Now we saw it's already additionally Oregon's running back who led the Pac-12 in rushing came down from Oregon down to USC to join the squad. Not a huge fan about that. Not a huge fan of that, but we can have that discussion at a later time. and now there's talks about the Biletnikoff winner, Jordan Addison, coming from Pitt to USC. Again, I'm cool. I'm actually cool with that in his situation. I mean, what are you gonna go from Kenny Pickett to some scrub, and you're trying to be the first wide receiver off the board next year? Do you want to be catching passes from Caleb Williams or Kenny Pickett's backup? So I get that. Although they did actually, funny little coincidence here, they did actually get Keaton Slovis as their starting quarterback for next year. He's slotted to be their starting quarterback for next year.
Yep. From
USC. So kind of little switch-ola, little trade action there, basically. If assuming Jordan Addison were to go to USC, he's also got offers from Texas, Texas, and I believe there's one other school that was involved. Potentially Bama, I think was.
Of course, why not?
I mean, of course, yeah. So but not talking short term. Just within this season and this mad transfer of players from other schools, high-end players from other schools, long-term over the next 5 years or beyond, I think Lincoln Riley could, assuming Saban moves on at some point, there's a chance Lincoln Riley ends up supplanting Nick Saban as the top coach in college football, in my opinion. Now, if you disagree, why don't you jump in here?
No, it'll be an interesting program. That's one of the ones I had written down in no particular order, but that's one that I'm keeping a close eye on. Like you said, they're getting in a lot of recruits from Lincoln Riley coming over, a lot of transfers from the Oklahoma program, Caleb Williams, like you had touched on, and just Lincoln Riley's offense, I think, is tailor-made for that Pac-12 and to compete there. So I think if you're a USC fan, you haven't had much to get excited about the last few years. Well, pretty much since Pete Carroll left. There's a couple of years in there here and there that they were relevant, but
they had a couple 10 wins, like I think 2 or 3 10-win seasons, but then they'd get destroyed in the bowl game. That's not the USC standard.
No, not at all. And I think USC is going to be getting back into that college football playoff contention each year. But again, we were talking in our group chat today. I'm a little skeptical. I think it's going to be kind of the same MO as Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma, going to be in that college football playoff and then just get destroyed by the SEC. So it'll be interesting to see. But as a USC fan, any USC fans out there, I think you can definitely be excited about your team's future.
Definitely be excited about it. I mean, there's no doubt that there's the talent, at least, or what Lincoln Riley is is going to be able to bring is at least skill position players, skill position talent. The problem, and what may not lead to national championships for USC, find the big dudes out in California. Find these monsters that exist in the Midwest, these monster players that exist in the Southeast in terms of potential recruits. California, not those types of players don't really exist. It's a small, you could be, I mean, shit, look at Kayvon Thibodeau. He's like 6'5", looks like he barely weighs more than me. He's just like a thin MFer, and that's cool. I mean, I'm not shitting on Thibodeau here. My point is, there's not a whole lot of just big bodies out there out west. Everybody's out there eating vegan and shit. Like, they're not growing. So I think that it's still the SEC's country to run in terms of college football, but USC is at least going to be viable. They're going to probably, within the next, I'd probably say probably not this year. I'd still probably put Utah as the favorite to win this conference, the Pac-12 right now, just because I haven't seen USC on the field. But starting next year and beyond, they're probably ready to win the Pac-12 and compete for one of those 4 playoff spots for the next 5 years, 10 years, however long Lincoln Riley's there.
Yeah. I'm going to jump over again. USC was one of my 5 teams, so I'm not going to say any more on them right now. Next one up on my list is Georgia. Georgia fans just coming off of the high of winning a national championship. Kirby Smart's locked into that program. Fantastic coach, great recruiter, and you can get the cream of the crop there down in the South for talent. So I like Georgia. The SEC East is relatively weak. Florida's going through a transition period right now. Outside of that, maybe South Carolina. They got Spencer Rattler in there, but they're not competing.
You are so hard on South Carolina. The Cox.
They can turn that program around, though. Shane Beamer did a nice job with that program last year. But otherwise, you got Tennessee. Kentucky's had a solid program, but have a little bit of turnover. Wandale Robinson. But I don't know. East is Georgia's, and there's nobody really that's going to push them for that title.
If you really compare the East to the West in the SEC, the West is loaded with Bama, Auburn, LSU, both the Mississippi schools, Mississippi State and Ole Miss. The East is basically Georgia. And then, you drop off to another tier with Florida. And then you drop, if you even want to consider Florida in that, in one tier below, I would say they're probably at least 2 tiers below. And then it's, it's a bunch of, let's see what Vanderbilt can do, which
nothing.
James Franklin did a great job with that program. He absolutely deserves that Penn State job. But no, Georgia's not going anywhere. I guess my question to you then is, Saban, let's say, okay, Saban's gone 5 years from now. Let's talk about 2027. Saban's gone. You're still sitting there with Kirby Smart at Georgia, Dabo at Clemson, Lincoln Riley at USC, anybody else you want to bring into the mix. Is Kirby Smart the best coach in college football at that point?
Probably. I think just with that recruiting ground, that is just prime territory down in that
Brian
Southeast.
Kelly will still be there as well at LSU.
Yeah. Funny you should say that, because that's also a team that I have for a fan base that you should be excited about. And Brian Kelly, with the state of Louisiana, arguably has the best high school athletes in the country, and they were all going elsewhere in the last few years because of the turmoil at LSU outside of the national championship year. A lot of different sanctions and allegations that were coming out there from the Les Miles area. Ed Ogeron outside of Joe Burrow was trash. He was not good there at all. So,
I really like that Joe Burrow guy. He's out here. He's just leading the offense. I really like that Joe Burrow guy. Go Tigers.
Right. But
best I can do.
Yeah. Brian Kelly
not great, Bob.
Brian Kelly was recruiting some of the top athletes in the country at Notre Dame with extremely high academic standards for recruits coming in. LSU doesn't have those standards anymore. So he
let's
is
be
going to be
honest.
bringing in just phenomenal athletes. If he can keep some of these awesome Louisiana athletes in the state and come to LSU instead of having them go elsewhere to A&M, Bama, outside of LSU, I think that program could be turned around in, I don't know, probably a year, maybe two tops.
Check out our Twitter page. We had actually retweeted a video of Brian Kelly dancing with a recruit that he was trying to, or a quarterback recruit that he's trying to bring in. So he's going all in. No, I've always thought that Brian Kelly at Notre Dame got shit on too much because Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame standards are just kind of out of touch, not really realistic at this point. So for him to bring that team as much success as he did, especially considering what he had jumped into, what had happened at Notre Dame the previous decade, really, of just basically garbage football, for him to jump in and almost immediately turn it around and make that kind of turn around that entire program, really impressive. And again, like you said, doing that with the Notre Dame academic standards, not and Notre Dame isn't a school that will waive academic standards for premier athletes. That's not one of the schools. Other schools may. Notre Dame's not one of them. LSU, that's where all those really high-end athletes from the Southeast, especially like you said, that breeding ground in in Louisiana, East Texas, that's where a lot of those players, they're targeted there to go to that school. So yeah, I don't see LSU going anywhere. I'm going to jump into another school in the Southeast here. I'm going to go with the Canes, Miami.
Okay.
Mario Cristobal's there now. We saw his impact at Oregon, what he was able to do with that squad. Kind of, with the previous coaching regime, wasn't terrible, but kind of that transition between Chip Kelly and then, basically went Chip Kelly, a myriad of mediocre coaches, and then Mario Cristobal. A lot of M's there again. Basically between Chip and Mario Cristobal, Oregon was consistently a disappointment. Mario Cristobal gets there, turns that program back to not necessarily the Chip Kelly level, probably, but more into a more stable program, I would say. So I really like what he did at Oregon. Now coming over to Miami, the way that this NIL is currently, and where it's basically like the wild, wild west, where you pay the most for me, I'll go to your school. That's kind of how it is now. Miami, tons of money out there.
Big time.
We saw it. We saw tons of stars going there back in the 2000s, early 2000s. Late 90s, where again, tons of stars there, and NIL wasn't legal. So now that it's legal,
not that it wasn't happening, but it
was definitely happening. It was definitely happening, but now it can happen for real. Like it can legally happen. So I'd imagine Miami's just going to be a hotbed for mad recruits. I love Mario Cristobal with that fit. He started there in Miami, and as long if of course this is the question with every team, but if Miami can get a quarterback, I don't see why they can't be competing, along with Clemson for the ACC, along with Florida State for the ACC.
No, I think Miami fans should be excited. Like you said, Mario Cristobal coming in, somebody that played there. So it's always good when you got somebody that comes back home, especially leaving the program like Oregon too. That's pretty solid to get him back down into the Miami area. So, is that two of your teams, Joe? You want to hit one more since I threw three of mine out?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump into the Big Ten, and I want to go to Michigan State. And solely because I am a Mel Tucker believer as a head coach. He started off, at college, or he started off within the LSU program, I believe, somewhere within the SEC. I believe the LSU program, jumped over to Colorado, over to Boulder, Boulder, and he was able to turn Colorado into an actual winning team, which, if you know anything about college football, Colorado, the Buffaloes, not really a powerhouse in terms of college football. So he was able to turn that team around. And then his first full year at Michigan State turned them into a 10-win team. That is badass. Yes, he obviously got Kenneth Walker transferred from Florida State, or from Wake Forest, but that doesn't, but there's a reason that he came over, because he believed in Mel Tucker. Players believe in Mel Tucker. The program believes in Mel Tucker. They gave him this massive deal because they believe in him for a good reason. So I love Mel Tucker here for Michigan State. I guess the question is, can they overtake? I think if I were to say, look out, the next 3 to 7 years, 5 to 7 years, however long you want to look out, I think they're probably the second best team in the Big Ten. Can they take over Ohio State? Do you think that could happen?
Maybe like a year or two out of that time frame, but no, Ohio State's they're the perennial top of the tier in the Big Ten, and will be that way. They're just so prestigious. They can get in pretty much whatever recruits they want for the most part, and I don't see that changing at all.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm going to jump down to actually my neck of the woods here and go down to UT. Go down to Austin.
They're on my list.
And the only reason is, well, they can't really go down from here. They're basically at rock bottom. So it's only, to the moon, maybe not, but, to steal from new Twitter owner Elon, to the moon for UT. But Quinn Ewers, that's the reason why I have them on my list. He's the best quarterback prospect straight out of high school since long hair Lawrence, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
I don't know how that slipped my mind for a second there. Since Trevor Lawrence, and we saw what Trevor Lawrence is able to do at Clemson. I don't know if Quinn Ewers can match that same productivity, that same production as Trevor Lawrence, but he's supposed to be able to do it. It looks like he's already taking over that starting job. It came in that it was going to be an open competition, and it looks like he's already taken over that job as a transfer from Ohio State down to UT as a redshirt freshman. So UT, the Longhorns, they believe in him. And also the Texas, they have to make some moves here, because they've been down basically since Colt McCoy, I guess.
Yeah.
So they fuck. Give Ewers the ball, let him do his thing.
Yeah. No, I had UT on my list, and that transition over to the SEC is really going to put them to the test and get their recruiting. But like I said, I just think Texas is obviously another powerhouse state for high school athletes. And you can start getting some of those guys to stay in state and stay south down at UT in Austin. I think they can definitely turn that program around. And like you said, Quinn Ewers is a huge boost for them, and it looks like that's going to be phenomenal for them for the next few years. And I had said that keep those recruits south because the other team that I wanted to talk about, my last one on the list, is Texas A&M. Just coming off of the number one recruiting class in the country this year. Jimbo Fisher's not going anywhere anytime soon. So I like Texas A&M quite a bit as well. They just seem to be on the up and up the last few years, and obviously haven't had any trouble getting recruits even the last couple of years. And I think the sky's the limit for them, and I think they're going to potentially push for that SEC West division.
What do you think about Kentucky's future? Will Levis is going to end up probably being he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks selected in next year's draft, it looks like. Do you think that could propel Kentucky into, propel them into a conversation where they could be competing with, I wouldn't say competing with Georgia at this point, clearly not, but potentially competing with like the Floridas, basically second place in the SEC East? Once Levis leaves, and would that bring any momentum?
I don't know that it will, because Kentucky is one of those programs that scares me a little bit for their future, because I think Mark Stoops is probably going to end up leaving once Will Levis is gone. And once he sees that program's kind of hit its peak, it's not one of those that they've had great football programs at all throughout the course of their history. So it's kind of flash in the pan here and there. And I don't know long-term if Kentucky's going to be able to stay where they're at right now, because if Mark Stoops leaves, then you're bringing in another coach that's probably not proven at all and going to have to start the process over again.
One last question, because you brought up Mark Stoops. I mean, are you shocked that he's still there?
I think with Will Levis still being there and being one of the potential top quarterback recruits coming out next year, I think he stayed because he wants to keep that program going, knows that they're probably going to be competitive again this year. But I don't know.
That's a good point.
Will probably be his last year, because he probably didn't want one of those either where it's like, okay, is this just a one-hit wonder for him this last season, or is this something he can do 2 years in a row? So I think his stock will be even higher this next year if he can get them into contention again, like he did this last year.
Super good point. I didn't even think about that. If he can go out on 2 straight 9+ win seasons at Kentucky, that's pretty badass. That's a really good point.
Yep. All right. We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook. We are on YouTube. Again, YouTube Live. We'll tweet out when we're approximately about to start recording. Our schedules fluctuate a little bit, but usually Monday and Wednesday nights. But you can check us out there. We've got the chat going, so you can ask us any sports-related question, or ask us any question, really. If we like it, we will answer it on the air. Do have one in the queue right now, so we'll get to that in a second here. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot of that review. Get you some sticker swag sent out in the mail for free. Jell, saw you finish off a beer. What are you sipping on next?
This is a good old-fashioned Dallas Blonde. Have to have the nectar, man.
Cheers to that, sir.
Yes, sir. Hey-o.
It's like we're gonna have ourselves a little social here.
Let's get social.
All right. Cheers to you, sir.
Indeed.
Oh, glorious.
God, that's so good.
Yes, it is.
Oh my God. Hell yeah. Let's go. I'm kind of sad. That's my last one in the fridge.
Ooh, still got a few more from a
thankfully
trip.
I can go down, take like a 8-minute stroll down to the 7-Eleven. I'm sure it's there.
Oh, so, big time.
Not too shabby.
All right. We do have a chat here we're going to get to. So Alex writes in, hey guys, big fan of the show. Question for you both. I am in a dynasty league and wanted to see what you think of this trade. I received Devontae Adams and I give away Stephon Diggs. Thoughts?
Oh man. Shoot.
Yeah, you got Stephon Diggs. You know what you're kind of getting there in Buffalo. Buffalo's an up and coming high powered offense, but Davante Adams obviously has been one of the best wide receivers in the league, with Aaron Rodgers now transferring over to the Las Vegas Raiders and his former college quarterback, Derek Carr. So that is a tough one. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
No,
I'm still collecting my thoughts.
No, you were about to say something. Oh, all right. I'll jump in. No, look, I would probably value right now, as much as I think Adams is the better talent overall, he had such a just like sensual chemistry with Rodgers that he probably also does have with Carr, like, between their, between the sheets. But I don't know if that necessarily translates to the field. I would rather see it first with Carr and Adams before I'm able to even see, give Diggs or rank Adams above Diggs. Diggs is a known commodity, right? Adams is an unknown commodity. And do you want to take that risk? There is the upside that he could be the Davante Adams that he was in Green Bay. But there's also the potential where he just falls off and he is maybe an average receiver. We don't see that necessarily all the time. And Derek Carr has to throw the ball to somebody, and Derek Carr is a good quarterback, but there's no, I don't see there being any chance that Davante and Carr can match the production of Davante and Rodgers.
Yeah, this is one that I'd like to kind of see the makeup of the team, because if you have other halfway decent wide receiver options, I think I'd like the potential of the Davante Adams side better in this one. I always want to say Oakland, but Las Vegas
No, it's
Raiders.
the LA Raiders. Los Angeles, come on.
Yes. But they don't have a ton of receiving options there. They don't utilize the running backs at all, pass catching. Darren Waller
didn't extend the 5th-year option to Josh Jacobs just to show how much they don't value the run game.
Yes. So I don't know. Derek Carr has shown that he is capable of putting up some solid performances, and that is without a star wide receiver. Obviously, Davante Adams got drafted into the league based on his college production, his college tape, and Derek was the one throwing him the ball. So there might be a little bit of a slow start maybe to get them back on the same page, but I think they can still be a really solid tandem in here. And I just like the, share of targets that Davante Adams is probably going to get in that offense. Stephon Diggs, yes, Buffalo is a high-flying offense as well, but Josh Allen likes to pull the ball down and run. They try to somehow utilize running backs in weird ways. And
not really.
I'm more concerned too is what we saw Gabe Davis with that monster playoff game. Is that going to continue too, where Josh Allen now feels a little bit more comfortable with Gabe Davis there, that maybe you throw him into the mix? You got Jamison Crowder now too. That's a PPR monster there. I'm
going to say no. Only because Diggs did just sign a massive extension.
Yeah.
So he knows he's there for the long term. He knows he's getting the ball. Him and they wouldn't sign him. They wouldn't sign Diggs to that extension if Josh Allen didn't want Diggs to be extended,
Yeah.
So that's why I still think Diggs is going to be that number one. I would also, going back to Gabe Davis, I freaking love the prospects for him this year.
Good. He's on.
I don't want to tangent off this question too much, but I'm going to. And what are your thoughts on Gabe Davis going into this year? You had super high expectations for him going into last year, and he really didn't live up to it, at least during the fantasy season. Now, once the playoffs hit, he kind of turned it up a notch. Do you have any thoughts, I guess, on him going into this upcoming year, just right off the bat?
I like him quite a bit as probably like a wide receiver to maybe like a flex play option for the most
Flex
part.
play is kind of where I sit it, where I would put him.
I thought for sure last year Emmanuel Sanders came in on a 1-year deal, and I thought that Gabe Davis might have a shot to beat him out. Had a pretty solid, I think he had 6-7 touchdowns his rookie year, so he was pretty solid there.
7.
Yeah, so I had some high expectations for him, but just kind of got buried on the depth chart there. And then Cole Beasley there. Cole Beasley kind of had a resurrecting year this last year and was halfway decent. He's gone now. So I do like Gabe. I am tempering my expectations until I see him prove it and stay consistent week after week. But I like him for the mid-teen rounds of your draft. So
and I throw one more name at you in that receiving core, Isaiah McKenzie.
Yeah.
Which once Diggs went down, Isaiah McKenzie started putting up a lot more production. Do you have any sort of feeling on him? Any sort of thinking he could be maybe a breakout candidate? Anything like that?
Yeah, I think he's going to be buried a little bit on the depth chart, though. So I think that's the only issue there. You also have Dawson Knox that had a really nice year last year outside of his injury.
Look at all these damn breakout candidates. How freaking good is Josh Allen, man?
Right.
God. Number 1 fantasy quarterback for the next 10 years. Write it down.
That's somebody you definitely want on your fantasy lineup. That is for sure. All right.
Thanks for the question, Alex.
Yes. Thank you, Alex, for writing in that question. Again, anybody has any questions, write us in, join our live chat. You can literally type in a question, and once it's answered, log off. We hope you stay for the whole thing, but if you need any questions, answer fantasy or anything. Yes. But more than happy to answer any questions. So we're going to jump in back over to the college football world here and talk a little NIL. We're coming up on almost a year since that was available and allowed in college football. So just kind of wanted to get your takeaways. We'll keep this just for time wise on the shorter end of it. We've got some other topics to discuss here too, but just kind of wanted to get your initial takeaways this year in review on it, your thoughts. Do you like what's going on? Is there anything you'd like to see them do further?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, I was pretty happy that NIL was, let's be honest, pretty unregulated. I liked that at the very beginning. I'm like, look, let's let all these players, all these, recruits, all these transfer prospects make as much money as they can. I am pro everybody making as much money as possible. Let's make that very, very clear. But I think I think after just how much transferring and how much money is being doled out to these transfers, how much money is being doled out to these recruits, I think there needs to be a limit set to some degree. Now, I don't want to limit these guys to saying, "Oh, you can only accept up to $500,000." I don't want to do that. But because okay, legally accept up to $500,000 and then there's an extra $1.5 million under the table. That's how that would work. So, I don't think that that's the right way to go about it. I've also heard the idea, and I like the idea of you can't, a school or a booster cannot pay a recruit or a current player or a transfer prospect until they're out of their freshman year of college. I like that because there's at least some level of regulation. But again, who says that, somebody's not going to be paying under the table for these recruits as it had been in the past.
Right.
I guess I don't know. I guess I don't know the perfect solution to this. I don't like, though, I'm totally on board with NIL and leaving that probably. I wouldn't say as it's currently regulated, but I am definitely in favor of there needs to be something done with these transfer rules, and that NIL is impacting transfers. That's the part that I hate, because there's been multiple transfers that basically say, look, I'm going to leave my school, and whoever pays me the most or whoever gives me the best deal, that's where I'm going to go to school. That's the part that very nice. That's the part that I don't have, that I'm not in favor of. I'm cool with high school. Why shouldn't Bryce Young be able to, when he goes to Alabama, get a $1.2 million deal right off the bat? Why not? He's 18. He's a made man. He earned that money. But I don't want it to be pay for player, where it's this transfer portal is effectively free agency. That's the part where I want there to be some sort of regulation on it,
Yeah, that's kind of where I am too. And my big concern, I guess, with it is just like tampering and poaching, I guess. Like Jordan Addison, it's just kind of weird, the whole timing of it. It's May. I mean, spring football is done, and now all of a sudden you've decided to transfer. Like, who was leaving, was going into the draft, wasn't coming back. And then you hear rumors that there was offers for like $3 million from him of NIL money.
Yeah,
so are people that reaching
came from
out
UT.
to current?
That came from Texas. That $3 million.
So it's like, you shouldn't be able to like reach out to a player directly that's already with another program being like, hey, you want to come here? We'll give you $3 million. I think what they should do, and I think I can't remember, I apologize for whoever I had read this off of online, but
he's not a
saying
sponsor.
something, not a sponsor, but they were saying something about it would be maybe where you have like transfer windows. So maybe you have like, I don't know, a couple week stretch, like either after the season or right before the season or something like that. Maybe you have two smaller ones where at that point in time, players can throw their name out into that transfer portal just to kind of get feelers out there. And then other schools can be like, hey, yeah, we want you here. This is what we can do for NIL. And you just have that window where stuff has to be locked down. So that way you're not messing with your teams and coaches that are trying to build their teams and think that they have you coming back for this next season. And then 3 months before the season essentially starts, you are deciding to transfer. So I'd like to see something like that. And again, I'm all pro people making money. So I don't have an issue with the NIL money. I think eventually it could be something that goes down if some of these companies end up getting burned by some of these athletes as far as their production on the field. They're shelling out big money for guys and they're just complete busts. You might start seeing that number drop down a little bit, at least for how often money's getting thrown around. Some of the big players are still going to be making that in the big time recruits, but maybe not as heavily just money thrown around like crazy.
But I want to know how much that money actually has changed, from when it was all, kind of under the table, cash payments. Reggie Bush lost his Heisman because of under the table cash payments.
Yep.
How much is that money really changing now? It's probably empowered some businesses. Some businesses are probably saying, okay, we can do this, and we can probably write it off as like a business expense to where before it was just a straight cash payment. I want to go back to something you said at the beginning of what you said, or your rant, which was, I guess, basically, like, I feel like there's a little bit of, I don't want to use the word hypocrisy again, because I said that like 45 times on the last episode, but you're cool with coaches leaving their contracts getting hired by other schools, but not players leaving their schools and for better money, better opportunity. That's the part that's always bothered me. I've said from day one. No, I didn't have this sort of insight back when I was born, but but I've always thought that if your head coach leaves, or your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, or your position coach leaves for another opportunity, that's when that transfer window should open up. But I think there needs to be some level of commitment from these kids. I hate saying the word kids too, because they are adults. They are adults that can make their own decisions. But from these athletes, that there needs to be, for example, for Oklahoma leaving for USC, I'm cool with any Oklahoma player leaving Oklahoma, whether it's to go follow Lincoln Riley to USC or whether it's to go to any other program. I'm 100% cool with that. But just leaving because, oh man, I thought I was going to be starting this year. I'm a freshman. I thought I was going to start over this redshirt junior, and I'm not going to start. I've got it. Now I have to transfer. I don't like that. That's the part that I want to eliminate. So I don't know exactly how you do that, but I've got less issues with NIL, more issues with this, the current complete lack of any sort of governance.
It's the wild west, essentially.
The transfer portal. It really is the wild west.
Yeah. And maybe that's resolved by just allowing everybody to have one free transfer. So that's, if your coach leaves, you're good to transfer to another program. If you're disgruntled that you thought you'd be starting by now, you get one transfer.
But isn't that how it is now? I'm pretty sure that's how it is now. You get one free transfer.
Who's the one idiot though? Tate Martell, was it Tate Martell that was on 4 different programs or something? Just kept transferring around. So I think
Ohio State, Miami. I think Texas maybe.
Yeah,
he's just an ass. He's just a jackass. That guy doesn't know what the hell he wants to do.
Yes, somebody that knows what he wants to do, Mr. Tom Brady. He's already setting up his post-retirement plans. Signed a massive deal to be Fox's leading color commentator, along with, is it Ken Burkhardt?
Ken Burkhardt, yep.
Ken Burkhardt.
Kevin,
yep.
Burkhardt.
10-year, $375 million big ones to be an announcer.
Not so too shabby.
Nice chunk of change to have a little nest egg once you retire. So not that
he really
needed the money.
That nest egg after, he married that really broke model, Giselle.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But thoughts there. I mean, Brady, I haven't seen him too much as far as commentary roles. I think he jumped onto one of the Manning casts this last year, but I didn't watch it. But where I know him and just some of his commentary and stuff was just from his the match when he was on that. And he's pretty quick on his feet as far as bringing stuff up, and can only imagine the insight that the best quarterback of all time has that can transition over to TV. So every interview that you see from him, he's pretty well thought out. He's very well spoken. So I think this is an absolute smash for Fox after
smash play.
Aikman.
Yeah, I think it's the best possible replacement for Troy Aikman. He's now that we have seen him outside of New England in Tampa, he's gotten a lot more relaxed, and he's been amazing on social media. He's out there talking with he's out there doing TikToks with Justin Bieber and shit. That does not fly in New England. So he's definitely
my favorite TikTok that he did. I don't know if you saw it the other day. I can't remember what it was that was going around, but it's tell me something. It wasn't necessarily a secret, or tell me a thought that's not popular or something like that.
This was the Bieber one.
He's was that the Bieber one?
That was the Bieber one.
Okay. Where he's the duck girl. That might have been a fumble.
It might have been a fumble.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And that's the part that Brady he gets it now. I think like he's kind of like already like almost half transitioned into being more of a, still going to do his thing on the football field, but also transitioning into like a, like a social media personality or just, media personality in general. And it's awesome. We've also heard some pretty candid stuff that he said on his podcast with Jim Gray. Hashtag not a sponsor. Let's go is what it's called. Hashtag not a sponsor. And also like in his what was Facebook, the Facebook documentary that he did called, I think it was called Tom versus Time. And he basically like, he just said like, dude, I can sit here, watch film all day. I love, I wake up, I watch film. Every morning I watch film. Pre-game, I watch film. Post-game, I watch film. I love watching film. I can watch film all day. That is going to that is something that will be incredibly useful for that lead anchor job, or not lead anchor, lead commentator job for Fox. Because I think if he's got, let's say he's got a Saints Packers game, Saints Bears game, whatever, he's going to be studying. Let's just say Saints Packers. He's going to be studying, how has Jameis Winston, what coverages is he looking at on every play? And he's going to be able to interpret what Jameis saw versus his studies and say that was the right decision because the safety was coming down and Jameis saw that the safety was going to come on a blitz, or be like, Jameis fucked up. He thought the safety was going to come on a blitz. He ended up doubling down and went and covered Michael Thomas, and that's how he got the pick. That's the kind of stuff that Brady's going to be able to bring to the picture for Fox. I absolutely love it. What I really hope doesn't happen is that he turns into Romo, where Romo I thought was absolutely just dynamite the first 2 years, really. Now it almost feels like Romo is doing like a WWE thing where he's hyped up about freaking everything. Oh, Jim, did you see this block from this right guard? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I really pray Romo doesn't do.
Yeah. No,
Brady doesn't do.
Yeah, I can't see Brady necessarily doing that. He seems like too even keeled a lot of the time. So I can't imagine that. But I don't mind Romo. It just kind of gets exciting. To me, it's like a Gus Johnson. So it's just, I don't know. He gets excited, makes it feel real, like you're sitting on the couch with your buddy watching the game. So I don't mind that a ton. But speaking of Joe Buck, we'll just throw that quick. He's making his ESPN debut next week, announcing the PGA Championship. We'll have a whole episode on that, or a good chunk of the episode next week on the PGA Championship. So looking forward to talking that. And yeah, believe Buck called one of the U.S. Opens, or at least called the U.S. Open.
Yep,
Fox
it was
had
the U.S. Open
on
the U.S. Open that Fox owned a couple of years ago now.
Yep. So not new to calling golf at all. So we'll get to hear his lovely voice for
your boy.
A good chunk of that tournament. Yes. Love it. All right.
I think Joe Buck is fine. I don't know.
He's fine.
He's fine.
Yeah. Fine. All right.
Check out the YouTube. Check out the YouTube feed for that to see Josh's face when I said he's fine. It was not an agreeing face there.
No, not great. All right, PGA.
Speaking of the PGA Championship, did you mention Phil and Tiger?
Have not yet. They have committed to the PGA Championship, so we should be seeing them. It'll be interesting as well. Again, we'll dive into it a lot more in depth next week, but The PGA Tour already said too with the Super Golf League that they're not allowing any waivers for players to go play in that. So we'll we'll go ahead and see what happens in June. So June 1st is that first tournament, I believe, for the Super Golf League. And we'll see what happens.
Sad
there.
golf league.
Yes. All right. This week is the AT&T Byron Nelson down in your neck of the woods, Joe, at TPC Craig Ranch. Is that Irving technically?
No, that's a little bit further west of Irving, but it is definitely in my neck of the woods, being in the DFW area. I've actually got a coworker that's so my coworker, he's like, yeah, I'm going Friday to go and just to not to play. Otherwise, he wouldn't be my coworker. I hope not. Good God.
Yeah, right.
He's going to watch Friday, but he had one of his clients call him and he's like, hey, I'll be down in your neck of the woods. I'm going to the Byron Nelson. And he's like, oh, cool. He's like, yeah, man, I got a suite. And he's sitting there thinking he's getting an invite to the suite. And there's a long pause. And he's like, yeah, I'm taking my son. just such a slap in the face there.
Classic.
just cracked me up. Thought that was an amazing story. But
yes.
But no, it's for all these golfers coming out here, prepare for it to be hot as balls. Yeah, we're looking at the mid 90s all weekend long, according to the forecast right now. So, bring your cold towels. I'm sure Brett Favre probably sponsors something that something that if you pull the strings, it makes it like a nice cold towel. So bring your Brett Favre towels. Bring your sleeves. Bring your copper fits, and if you're planning on coming, stay hydrated. But it's gonna be a hot one, bud.
Yes. KH Lee is the defending champion from last year. This is a tournament that there are a lot of notables ramping up for that PGA Tour championship next week in Oklahoma. We got Gooch. He's playing in this one. Bubba Watson, Hideki Matsuyama, Jason Day, Xander Schauffele, Dustin Johnson, Adam Scott, JT, Jordan Spieth, Scotty Sheffler. So Scotty Sheffler making his first start on the tour since that Masters victory. So we'll see what that month off has done for him. So we'll have to see there. But otherwise, any other names? You got any betting odds for us today, Joe?
Yeah. So your top five coming into this are Scotty Sheffler at plus 225, Justin Thomas at plus 275. Sam Burns at plus 425. Does that name shock you to be up there? I mean, considering he's also amongst Xander Schauffele at plus 425, Will Zalatoris at plus 25, and then the hometown favorite of Jordan Spieth at plus 475. Also Dustin Johnson plus 475.
No, doesn't surprise me. Sam Burns has been playing pretty well lately, so I think it's fitting.
You don't normally see him though, or just before this season. Yeah. Let's say he's been playing really good golf. Before this season, you wouldn't have ever seen him mentioned amongst those names that I just rattled off.
No.
So that's pretty ballin' status for Sam Burns to be in that kind of territory.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Good for him. And he's, like I said, having a phenomenal season so far. So hopefully he can keep that rolling. Speaking of rolling, I am on a hot streak right now. Gained a stroke on you in our golf picks from last week. So looking to
scorching
catch back
hot
up even more. Yeah, scorching hot like that Dallas Heat this weekend. So in case you're new to this segment, what we do every week, starting with the Century Tournament of Champions, Jell and I will pick a golfer, whatever their strokes are relative to par. That's what your score is for the week. You miss the cut, whatever their shot before or at the time that they miss the cut. That's what you get for the week. Once you use a golfer, you can't use them again. So it is a survival pool. And you also can't use the same golfer as your opponent for the week. Whoever is in last gets first pick, and that is me. So
welcome.
Yes.
Yeah. You probably, if you are a dedicated listener, you've heard that for a number of weeks now.
Yep. Hey, worked last week, got a stroke.
True.
All right. There's a lot of notables in the field this week, but I'm going to pick somebody that wasn't listed off in the notable category, somebody that has been playing some solid golf lately. Grew up on the plains of Oklahoma, so he's used to playing in the hot conditions. If there's any wind out there, he's used to playing in the wind. He is tops on the tour for scoring on par threes this season and number 5 on par 5. So I like those odds quite a bit. I am rolling with Mr. Taylor Gooch.
Gooch. Yeah, no, I've picked him to watch, or once now. I've contemplating picking him all season long. He's been playing really good golf. Very fine pick. And like you said, being from Oklahoma, he knows how to fight that wind. So he'll be all right with this. I'm going to go balls deep on this one. Scotty Sheffler.
Yeah, figured.
He moved to Dallas when he was a kid, moved here at the age of 6 and went to Highland Park. Great high school. That's where I've mentioned this before, but that's where Clayton Kershaw and Matt Stafford went. Your boy. And so he went to high school there, played at UT in Austin at Texas. So he knows he's going to know this course, I think, like the back of his hand. And obviously he's the number 1 player on the tour right now. So I guess why shouldn't I go with Sheffler here?
Oh, I don't have any rebuttals there. I had already burned him with Louisiana, the Zurich, so I could not use him, and love that pick this week. He's been having one of the greatest seasons in tour history, at least recently. So
I mean, seriously, is he off to one of the best starts since? I mean, it's one of Tigers when Tiger. Yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
We're talking about Sheffler in that Tiger Slam category. So where's a better place to use him? Right here in Texas, in Dallas, where he's going to know this course. I've got a very good feeling. It is going to be a very, I guess, low scoring, most likely low scoring, where we may see the winner being the 20 under par type of
I thought
territory.
You meant low as in like close to par. No, I was going to say it's going to be
20, like probably 20 under or beyond.
Yes, absolutely.
So
I think
pretty
last year the winner was at
watch.
25 under, so it'll probably get close to the 20s. Oh, and looking forward to tuning into that this weekend. All right, that will wrap us up for the week. We'll be back on Tuesday, and you can catch us
live on a Monday.
You can catch us live on a Monday on YouTube Live. Again, subscribe to our YouTube page. You'll get notification once we kick off live. But we can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Check us out again on YouTube. Just type in Dead Arm Sports into the search bar. You'll see that nice black and yellow logo. Click on that. And there you go. Click that subscribe button so that way you get the notifications. Send us in any questions that you have. Again, if you're watching the live feed, send us any questions. Again, shout out to Alex today who asked us that question.
Yeah, really appreciate that. That helps a ton.
Yes.
We want to hear any questions that you guys have. So that was awesome.
Yep. Fantasy related, it can be sports related, not sports related. If you have a question you want us to answer or know or have us debate about, it's perfectly fine. Shoot it our way. We'll answer that. Subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your favorite listening platform. Send us a screenshot of that review. Get you some sticker swag sent out in the mail. Jill, where can they find us at?
Hit us up on our presenting sponsor, Anchor. Find them on the web at anchor.fm. Find them on the web or find them in the App Store. Just search Anchor. They'll be in your Google Play Store or your Apple App Store. They allow us to do all of our presenting, all of our editing, all of really everything to you guys for your listening pleasure for free. So make sure to hit up them, give them a little bit of loving, and where you can listen to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, and again, hit up the YouTube page as well. Anchor not involved with YouTube, but you can find our YouTube page. Just search Dead Arm Sports when you get to YouTube, and you can see us live when we're recording. You can also see our videos after we record as well.
Yeah, if you haven't checked out our YouTube page, you have to check out Gel's roaring fire in the background.
Oh, it is on. It's happening big time right now.
Appreciate everybody out there listening. If you could tell somebody that you know about the podcast, maybe they want to check us out on our live feed as well, that would be awesome. Help us get even more content out there and spread the word on what a great piece of art this is, Gel. Take the words out of your mouth there, but
beautiful.
That will do it again for this week. We will be back with you at the beginning of next week, and also have a PGA Championship episode for you next week. Looking forward to the second major of the season. And Gel, close her out.
Just make sure that with that 5-star review, you screenshot your written piece and send it to us at our socials. We will send you some DAS sticker swag. Peace off.